Okay.
Ooh.
How's it what?
Smells good.
Okay. I'm Adam from the Ruby L Tap Room.
I'm Lee from the Oshkosh Beer Blog. And we had something interesting happen last week here in Oshkosh.
Yeah.
So, Shorts Brewing Company of Bel Air, Michigan, bottled a beer on Wednesday, August 17th in the morning. And then it came to Oshkosh via airplane that day, and it was on sale here in Oshkosh before noon, that same day that it was bottled, which goes to show exactly what's happening with IPAs.
Yes.
Where
Fresh
freshness
is king.
becomes a thing. And we have a comment here from Chris Winkler who says, I believe freshness and storage temperature has a major impact on IPAs. The biggest thing is that some desirable hop compounds and flavors are more volatile and will degrade with temperature and time. Brewers are listening to people like this.
Yeah.
And you're seeing all of a sudden things like this, what Shorts does, and then with dating on cans and things like that. And what we're drinking today is the Stone Go-To IPA. So that's a beer that they date. The one we have here was dated, it was canned June 26th.
Sure.
And it says best before September 28th. So they're giving it a 3-month window there, essentially.
That's a kind of a poison pill for retailers in a way, because although they're saying it's best by this date, obviously you can drink it and it's not like milk where it's going to curdle and you're going to get sick. So yes, the optimal flavor profile is going to be most prominent in that date window, but and from a retailer's perspective, it makes it a little challenging to you're under the gun. You got to sell that beer in that window.
And if you don't, you eat it, right?
I mean, it's kind of a gray area. Sometimes distributorships will take back product that it's out of code, but it's rare, and they obviously don't want to do it.
And you don't see many Wisconsin breweries so much dating their product.
No.
But if you think back, like 5-6 years ago, this was not on the radar.
No.
And it changed the exact time when these new hops started coming: Citra, Mosaic, Amarillo, Simcoe. When those new hops started coming out and brewers started brewing differently, now the hop additions are going way later into the boil.
And I feel like the later you add them to the boil, the more fleeting that aroma or flavor is once the beer is finished.
And there's so much dry hopping now. I mean, brewers did dry hop, but to the extent they are now, it's crazy. I mean, like I think like a typical 10-barrel batch of beer, you'd have like 40 pounds of hops going into this beer now. With 2 to 4 pounds of dry hopping. It's something else. And it's interesting to me that people started picking up on that, because you used to just not hear this,
I know. Well, I think it's, 3 Floyd Zombie Dust, Pale Ale, Topping Goliath Pseudo Soup. People got a taste for those and realized that, okay, they want to taste that same flavor profile again, but those beers are best consumed fresh. And I think that's what everybody's kind of chasing now.
And those are beers that those are the new hops.
Citra,
are featured in those, But hoppiness used to be equated with bitterness.
Yeah.
And it's not anymore.
I know. I mean, you and I have long had this discussion about how Toppling Goliath has a house style, house mouthfeel, and while having a tremendous hoppy flavor, they're not residually bitter at all.
Yeah. Well, this beer here from Stone Brewing, Go-To IPA, this is a 4.8% ABV session IPA with they say 65 IBUs, but it certainly doesn't taste 65 IBUs. I mean, I think this is actually less bitter tasting than something like Pilsner or Kelp. It has more residual bitterness to it.
So, going off of dating, I mean, Stone was kind of one of the pioneers, I guess, of really picking up on, hey, these beers need to be consumed by a certain time. They came out with a beer called Enjoy By about 4 years ago. So where they literally on the label of the beer, it was incorporated in the label artwork saying you need to enjoy this by June 28th, 2016.
Yeah, and I would think that's an easier thing to do with a large brewery. I mean, Stone's like the 9th biggest craft brewery.
Yeah,
in the United States
exactly.
right now. They're a big brewery from San Diego, California. And they pulled out of Wisconsin, came back.
Yeah.
So they probably have the cachet with their distributors and stuff to be able to pull something like this off. If you're a small brewer bottling, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah. No, I mean, it would make you not want to even make IPAs.
Yeah.
Because of how short the shelf life is.
Well, the other thing of that is though, it maybe benefits them in a way where if they're selling beer out of their tap room, that's where you're going to get the fresh beer. It'll drive them there. But on a packaging basis, this has to be difficult. You know?
Well, I would agree, and I think maybe that's why, I think of a lot of Wisconsin breweries, and I think of IPAs that Wisconsin breweries make, and they're not the Mosaic, Citra beers. They're more Centennial, Cascade, Chinook IPAs, which don't have quite those same exotic aromatics.
Titletown's IPA has a bit of that, kind of juicier, fruity sort of character, and so does Lakefront's IPA, and both of those breweries date their bottles.
Yeah.
So now where you never see this come up though is a beer on draft.
Yeah.
So when you get a keg of beer, is it dated?
Most are, but there I've certainly had IPAs that are not. They usually on the keg collar there's a little kegged on date, but.
And you never see it on draft list, like when
when tapped on or packaged on.
Packaged, yeah,
because that'd be suicide. I mean, anybody who gets, because again, from the retailer and or on-premise perspective, you're not in control of the inventory you receive. I mean, or I should say, when if I ordered a keg of great hoppy beer with Citra hops, I have no control whether it was kegged a week ago or if it's 4 months old.
And there's only so much from that date.
Yeah.
You don't know what happens to that beer in the interim. Like, we have a comment from Ben Sajak. Ben says, I'm curious how some IPAs can age. Oh, no. We have a comment from Scott Harrelson. We'll get to Ben in a minute. How about a couple of blind taste tests? Anyone around, you have a few IPAs they forgot about at the back of the fridge. That's the thing. Like, we did we did a tasting like this in an earlier show. We took Lakefront's IPA. It was the same bottling date.
Yeah.
But then one was stored on a cold shelf at one store, one was stored on a warm shelf at another store. And it was...
There were differences.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't huge, but it was there,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, so if you've got... A beer could be, if it's 2 weeks old, but it's sat around warm somewhere, or even hot, like on a truck
sunlight
or something. You still don't know what you're really getting.
Exactly. There are a lot of factors involved, but... and unfortunately the consumer just takes the date itself at face value, and there's a lot more factors in it. So
how much, like at Gardina's where you're selling beer and packaged?
Yeah.
Like, are people asking you about this kind of thing? Or?
Maybe not so much asking, but I'll see, if there's a 4-pack of cans, I'll see a customer, turn them upside down, usually with the date is stamped on the bottom of the can, and kind of, looking for that gallon of milk that has a little bit more lifespan to it.
Well, that's the thing too. Like some of these, like Bell's does this with their canned beer. They have it in a package.
Yeah.
And you can't. It's dated on the bottom.
Yeah.
But you can't see the date until you open the package and get it home. So, that's kind of a crapshoot.
Well, and I have seen. I mean, it's definitely it's arrived in the customer's mentality when they start learning what Julian codes are, and they start because not all beers are dated equally. I mean, there's some that is a traditional dating format, and there's Julian codes, and there's other formats too.
Which is only done to confuse the consumer.
Yeah.
Why would anybody do this other than to, keep it a little bit more opaque? They can say they're dating their package, but nobody really knows what the hell it means.
Yeah.
But like, not all. This can be kind of work against you too, because some beers, some hoppy beers, do better with a little bit of age.
Yeah.
We had. Ben Sajak says, I'm curious how some IPAs can age well, like Dogfish 120-minute IPA. Do they get better with age, or they just keep well because of the high ABV? I mean, have you ever had like a fresh 120?
No, I haven't.
I can't drink it.
Yeah, I've never even had the beer. I've never had it. Not once.
It's like a 15% ABV beer.
Yeah.
And I've had some that were old, and I like.
Well, it's like an American barley wine.
It is. It is a barley
it's not
essentially. Yeah. But if if a beer doesn't have this huge amount of dry hopping and all the late additions, it actually, even an IPA, might improve somewhat with a little bit of
Well,
age.
if it's a little bit more malt forward beer, the use of hops is like a Centennial or a Cascade. I think those hold up a little bit better.
So what's your is this something that you
my go-to IPA?
Or even
okay.
how do you look at dates?
Well, yeah, I mean, I try not to, but there's no denying that fresh IPAs taste better than the ones that have been hanging around, especially when it's this style. So I mean, you have to be wary of it. I very rarely, buy IPAs off of shelves anywhere without kind of a lot of research. Yeah.
The thing about this is like now that there's this huge emphasis on all this dry hopping, I don't think it always works.
Yeah.
You can get that very fresh flavor, but you also get like a lot of that oniony character. It comes with dry hopping. And I had the Shorts beer that came in on Wednesday. And it was okay, but it wasn't especially pleasant to me. There was a lot of that kind of onion, garlic, and
catty.
Yeah, it was just not, I mean, it's cool that they're going to the lengths to do something like that. But.
Yeah. Well, I know Oso has last year and then this year trying to do kind of something similar where they're packaging one day and the distributorships are picking up and they're trying to get it out like literally as fast as they can with I think it's Lupulin Maximus is the beer that they're doing
really?
that with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to look for that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely on the horizon in this area. But one more thing I wanted to add, I think you're always better off, if you're in search of freshness, drinking off of tap, hoppy beer, just because, kegs are generally refrigerated all the time. There's no, if you're going to a retailer that may have been cold when it was delivered, then warm, then cold again, or kegs are always they get shipped cold. They're sitting in a cooler, and I think they just and I think you get a little bit more age out of them when they're
Yeah, I every time that beer gets repackaged, goes to another container, it's going to degrade. There's no way around it. And that small container, that's where it's going to degrade the fastest.
Well, exactly. I think you're better off because you got more surface area inside of a keg instead of a 12-ounce bottle. And just through personal experience, I've been burned a lot more drinking IPAs out of bottles and cans than I have off the draft.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this?
This is a really nice beer. The bitterness is kind of building now, but it's a beautiful kind of golden straw color, a little bit hazy, and it's got really nice aroma, kind of.
Well, I think it's 2 months old, and I think it's really not.
Yeah,
it's not.
No, I know. You said the date, and in the most, really staunch IPA buyers would say, hell no, wouldn't touch this beer.
It's 2 months old.
Yeah, 2 months old.
Well, we can drink it.
Yeah.
All right, Adam.
Hey, cheers.
Prost.